Yep. What is up, Dodgers Nation? Doug McKain here. Friends call me D-Mac, credentialed Dodgers reporter. But today we're talking all things Major League Baseball. This is the first episode of The Dugout. You've heard of Dodgers Dugout. Today we got The Dugout. We talk about other teams around the sport. It's the trade deadline. So I got my guy, Mr. Jim Riley from Ball Cap Sports. You know him. You love him. All around YouTube covering all teams. Jim, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it, my man.
Doug, I'm excited to be here. Every time we have an opportunity to get together and chop it up, I truly do appreciate it. And this is a great time for you and for me and all of us that like to talk baseball, because there's so much to talk about it. And I'm glad that I can come on here and join you and dive into it.
Absolutely, Jim. I mean, a lot of people talk about Christmas in July, but for guys like you and me, it truly is Christmas in July. The trade deadline is what we live for. And of course, this is a Dodgers channel, so we might as well start right there. We know that you talk a lot about the Dodgers because the Dodgers are always involved with the biggest names, and they also have some of the biggest needs. Are you of the mindset that the Dodgers have to absolutely go out there and get a number one or number two starter, a Tariq Skubal, a Garrett Crochet? Do you think it starts right there for LA? And what do you think the likelihood is that they're going to go and land one of those big names?
I think the question is, we take a step back. We take a step back for a second and think about this front office. Now, they do not hesitate in making the big splashy move if they need to make the big splashy move. And right now, what is a want versus what is a need? It's all relative. What you think is a want, what you think is a need is different from me, is different from the front office, is different point from any viewers. Do the Dodgers truly need to go out there and open up the farm to get Tariq Skubal? Or do they look at their situation? Because think about part of Skubal's value, the fact that you get him for 2 more seasons after this. And do the Dodgers place a value on that as high as a team like the Baltimore Orioles do? Because the Dodgers next year, once the dust settles on all these injuries, the team's rotation should be loaded next year with Ohtani at the top, followed by Yamamoto, and you're going to have Glass now. You're going to have Bobby Miller. You're going to have, and then Stone. And there you go. So I don't know if the Dodgers necessarily want to pony up for Skubal, who's incredible. But right now, it feels like the sky's falling because of all of these injury issues. I was just looking at the Dodgers depth chart, and I was looking at the top of that pitching rotation. You've got James Paxton and Gavin Stone as the 2 top pitchers right now. Yeah. But that's between now and the end of the year. Yamamoto should be back. You hope Bobby Miller gets back to form. You'll get Glass now back. Pieces come back. I don't know. I hesitate to say they will, because this doesn't feel like, now again, they'll make the move. They'll make the splash. They'll be aggressive, but they don't feel like a knee-jerk overreaction kind of front office when it comes to a situation like they're currently facing. As problematic and as stressful as it is, I don't know if they're going to overreact and trade 3 top prospects for Tariq Skubal. What do you think?
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And that's one of the big reasons why I wanted to start this show, to cover all baseball, calling it The Dugout, because we want the outsider's perspective. We are stuck in this Dodger blue bubble 24/7, 365. And it's good to hear that perspective that, yes, there are a lot of reinforcements on the way. And the fact that these pitchers, they're not rentals. It's not like Max Scherzer back in 2021. Right. You're getting Crochet for the remainder of this season in 2 years. Same with Skubal. You're investing a lot because these are frontline starters for the remainder of this season and for the next 2 years. So I think the interesting for me, though, is this team is so invested in success with this year. This is not last year's Dodgers who think that going out there getting Joe Kelly and Kike and Lance Lynn, that's going to win the deadline. They know that they have to go out there and at the very least make it to the World Series. And really, it's going to be considered a failure if they don't win the World Series. But I think for me, the interesting thing is if Skubal truly is available and we're talking about the same top prospects from the Dodgers and the same top prospects from the Orioles. We know the Orioles, they've lost mostly their whole rotation outside of Burns, and they have a team that's ready to win a World Series. Their prospects at the top are better than the Dodgers prospects at the top. So if they're coming to the table with the same pieces, the Orioles have better quality prospects right now. Question I have for you, though, is Crochet versus Skubal, because I love Crochet in the ceiling, the upside, a dominant lefty, strikeout rate through the roof, but almost feels like he's a Lamborghini, but a Lamborghini that has 100,000 miles and the warranty starting to wear out, right? So I love the upside, but Skubal, more of a proven track record. If you're the Dodgers and it's the same prospects out of those two, which guy are you trading for?
10 times out of 10, it's Skubal.
Yeah. Yeah.
The problem is Crochet may be reaching the finish line before the Dodgers reach the finish line this year. And again, the value that is placed on the control and all of those additional years, the Dodgers won't hold that value as high as some other teams may, because next year their rotation's set. They have their rotation in 2025 already planned out. The only way that changed, I mean, are you including Bobby Miller in a trade for Garrett Crochet? Because if you're thinking about trading for Crochet or Skubal, somebody that's in the mix for next year kind of needs to go back in the package. So I would rather do Skubal out of those two just because of the innings. And also we have a longer track record with Tariq Skubal. Skubal, when he first came up, looked it was a little up and down, but he settled down. Last year, when he came back from injury, he dominated in the back half, the handful of starts that he got to close out the 2023 season. We've seen him do it longer than we've seen Crochet do it. So I feel like Skubal would be the guy out of those two for sure.
It's just so tough for me because ERA-wise, Skubal has him, but the expected stuff, Crochet has a little bit of an advantage. The strikeout rate, Crochet's more dominant. You know that plays up in the postseason. For me, it's kind of tough. I don't think I'm with you. I would go Skubal over Crochet just because of the quality and the track record. But if you could guarantee me their health, and with the way that postseason games are won, a lot of times it takes 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pitchers to win in the postseason. It's increasingly becoming a bullpen game. And if the Dodgers, you're getting some of these guys back and you pick the best 3 or 4 of those guys to be your starters, Crochet, you have that versatility to use him as a dominant starter or as a multi-inning lights out reliever. We know that plays up too. So that's what makes it very enticing. Now, as far as these secondary guys, I got them my first tier, my S tier right there, top shelf dudes. Those are my top shelf dudes. After that, Yusei Kikuchi is definitely right in that mix. I know you're a Blue Jays guy. Are you of the belief that it's just the rental players that they're going to part with at the deadline, or is there a chance that Vladdy or Bichette get dealt? Because I feel like even though they're not going to be contenders, it feels like they're hell-bent on keeping them, and they're just going to part ways with those rentals.
Well, I believe this is a fascinating situation. Guaranteed. The rental players are goners, and the Dodgers are a great fit with Yusei Kikuchi. The one additional piece that is kind of interesting is Chris Bassett. Yeah. And I started to speculate Bassett before it was cool, before everybody else started speculating about Bassett. I was the one out there. I was the only one in the field looking around, and people were taking shots at me because it makes sense. The one extra year, the dollars are not that insane for a contending team like the Dodgers if they wanted to go get Bassett. But as it pertains to Bo and Vladdy, I think this front office would prefer to just kick the can down the road and go into the 2025 season with the two of them and hope that it all turns around. I don't know what they're going to be expecting to change, what's going to be different, unless they're bringing in Bruce Bochy's clone to be the manager of the Toronto Blue Jays. I don't see how it's going to be any different there, because they're not going to go out and be the most aggressive team in the offseason and sign the 2 best pitchers and the 2 best position players and completely revamp the roster. I don't trust it. I have been, and I will continue to until the trade deadline passes, championing the trade concept of Bo Bichette to the Los Angeles Dodgers. I believe that the Dodgers farm system with all of their pitchers, look at what the Blue Jays are doing with the draft. They are focusing heavy with pitching. This team's farm system, the pitching level is weak. And if they can turn Bo Bichette into a couple of those Dodgers pitching prospects towards the top, and maybe Gavin Lux and maybe somebody else, we can start talking about a trade that works for the Blue Jays in the short term. It wouldn't be a long-term play because the Jays do want to compete next year. They could do that by trading Bo Bichette for pitchers that are at the higher level at the minor leagues and will be ready in 2025. And the Dodgers, I know Rojas has been steady with the glove there. He's been good at shortstop, but Bo Bichette maybe goes to the Dodgers. They teach him to do things a different way. His defense improves. You also get all off season. And this is the value that Bo Bichette has that I don't know if this dopey Blue Jays front office understands. You trade Bo Bichette this offseason or before the deadline, you are sort of poking at these teams and their sense of urgencies because the Dodgers are in World Series or bust mode and they're feeling it now. So you can weigh on some of that emotion. You can tug on those heartstrings. You also send Bo Bichette over and you have all off season, if you're Andrew Friedman and that Dodgers front office, to get your extension done with Bo Bichette. So you're not parting with these top prospects for a rental version of Bo Bichette next July. I wish they would do it. I don't know if they're going to do it. I don't know if Blue Jays ownership would allow them to do it after all the money they just invested in that ballpark to make it look like they're waving the flag and blowing it up. Ownership may say no. Ownership may also say no because they are thinking about giving these guys the boot. Ross Atkins may not be there, and the Jays ownership may say, and again, it's Rogers Communications, so it's kind of a board. There's going to be a lot of people involved, but they may say, you know what? We want whoever's going to be the next general manager making the Bo Bichette trade, which could delay things. But getting back to how you started this question, all of those free agent guys are certainly goners, and Yusei Kikuchi would be a great get for the Dodgers.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting to see Bo Bichette once again kind of emerge if that does happen. Because we know the couple weeks leading up to the All-Star break in the draft season, that basically is leverage season. It's lying season, quite frankly. Then when things start to heat up and teams start to really put some key prospects on the table, then it's, oh, that guy is now available because we can turn down an offer that strong. The interesting thing about Bo Bichette to me is if the Dodgers were to trade for him, depending on Max Muncy's availability, you could slide Miguel Rojas over to third and then have Bo Bichette play shortstop. You put Mookie Betts back in second base where he belongs. But the issue I have with Bo is, like, I'm looking for reasons to say, okay, he's the cliche ultimate change of scenery guy. Truth of the matter is, anywhere he go is going to be a better chance to have success than what he's had in Toronto this season, because hitting 221, below average bat all season, and last month he hit 107. So, I mean, if you're the Dodgers, I think the concern is if we're that win now and we're looking to trade for an impact infielder, yes, we need a shortstop, no doubt about it. But if this is just a down year for Bo Bichette, is there enough time for him to find that rhythm right away? Because let's be honest with you, I haven't had too much success with Kevin Biggio this season. People on my show saying that it's an apple that fell very far from the tree based on his Hall of Fame dad. So not a lot of success with the Blue Jays this season, but hey, shortstop is a need. And I think you bring up the best point in that you got to find a shortstop in the off season. So to bring in a guy, the incumbent team, the team that he's playing for always has the opportunity to extend. So that makes a ton of sense, but switching gears to kind of around the league. Got to talk about, this is all baseball show. Can't have an all baseball show without talking about the New York Yankees. And you look at how the Yankees started. They were hot, went on a big skid. You look at where they're at right now. Do you see them going after a couple of bullpen arms? They could use some guys that can miss bats, some high leverage guys. They could use another infield. They've been linked to Jazz Chisholm, maybe another starter. What do you think the Yankees do at the deadline? How aggressive do you expect them to be?
Well, they will, like all of the contenders, be looking for the top relievers that are out there. I think Tanner Scott would be a great target for the Yankees. Any of the, there's a bunch of pitchers in the Angels bullpen right now that the Yankees could try to go and grab. So they will be, Yimi Garcia. We just talked about the Blue Jays. Garcia could end up going to the Yankees. Yankees will, I think, most certainly be grabbing one of those high leverage relievers that are out there. When it comes to the offensive side of things, when it comes to the bat, one thing that has improved the chances of them making a splash in that department is all of the injuries they have dealt with. And, You've got Rizzo now down for a significant amount of time. Stanton is down. Jason Dominguez is hurt again. Everson Pereira is on the IL. So there's all of these like sort of next guy up characters that have gone down and they're not available. So I do think they go and make a splash there, but Jazz Chisholm is interesting. That is certainly a good one. I actually, of all the Jazz Chisholm potential destinations, I think the Yankees would be the best. We're talking about Kansas City. We're talking about Seattle. You're talking about some of these clubhouses that may be in a fragile state. And what I mean by that is they're still developing their identity. They are, in the terms of Kansas City, they're still transforming into the clubhouse and the culture that they are going to be at during this next stretch of winning that Kansas City is looking at. The Seattle Mariners seem like they're in a state of flux right now, especially with the bats. I wouldn't want to send Jazz Chisholm into that environment. No shot. But with the Yankees, some really strong leadership there. Jazz Chisholm walks into that clubhouse and he looks to the right. He sees Juan Soto. He looks to the left. He sees Aaron Judge. He looks to the right again. You got Garrett Cole. He looks to the left. He sees Anthony Rizzo. You've got some really strong leadership personalities there. And Aaron Judge has already sort of flexed that muscle a little bit this year. I'm sure it is what has had a positive influence on Alex Verdugo. He's been a much better clubhouse guy. Marcus Stroman, you're telling Marcus Stroman, it's not what we do here when you're showing up a teammate on the field. That's the kind of team that needs to trade for Jazz Chisholm, and that would also be a great spot for Jazz Chisholm. Gleyber Torres is a free agent at the end of the season, and I think the Yankees probably move on from him. And Jazz could move right back to the infield. He had been a second baseman. He came up that way. They moved him to center field, so you have the versatility, but you can put him at second. He could be your second baseman moving forward after Gleyber walks in free agency. Feels like a great fit that, again, talking about the value of a player and the control that they have, the Yankees would certainly value that with Jazz Chisholm because he could be the second baseman of the future, and I think it would be a great move for Jazz Chisholm as well. Outside of that, I really think they're going to focus on bullpen pieces because the rotation with Garrett Cole starting to look a little bit like Garrett Cole. Luis Gil has bounced back. He's starting to look better. I think they any rumors you hear about rotation, I think it might just be leverage. Give me bullpen pieces. Give me a wild card move for Jazz Chisholm, a wild card team to go grab Jazz. I think it'd be great for both sides.
Absolutely. I think with Jazz Chisholm, he's a player that last season he had a well above average season. You saw him really start to put it together. This year, he's down in Miami. That team struggled all year, and there's just no juice down in that franchise for him. And it's the opposite side of the spectrum. If you get traded to the Yankees, surround with that collection of talent. He's a guy I think it's sink or swim. I think he either goes to the Yankees, all of a sudden, boom, becomes an above average bat, 120 weighted runs, creative runs player in a couple of weeks, and then he's starting to feel that electricity in the Bronx, or maybe gets off to a slow start, and then it's, maybe this guy isn't great in clubhouses around the league. But I think that he does have this bad reputation that isn't necessarily accurate. It's just he's been a good player on a bad team for a long time. When you're a good player,
he's a clubhouse. I mean, he's a clubhouse guy. Like, he's not a positive clubhouse influence kind of guy. They have had issues with him in the past. It's been better lately, but I think that you need to have wherever you trade him to. And that's why Philly, we had Bob Nightingale on the podcast recently. He's like, Philadelphia is not going to go anywhere near Jazz Chisholm. There are going to be teams that won't touch him. The Dodgers won't touch him because of the clubhouse, the past clubhouse issues. So I think that there is some legitimacy there. Got to send him to a team with a strong clubhouse, with strong figures that can hold him in check.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you're a Yankee fan out there yelling, well, he's going to be better than Gleyber Torres anyway. So let's see if you can go out there and find a way to help us win. Now, big name all Dodgers fans want is Randy Arozarena. That is the player that Dodgers fans have been fixated on for quite some time now. You mentioned the Phillies. That's my fear, is that the Phillies, they need an outfielder, and he doesn't have to be the guy, right? With Tampa Bay batting second or third in the lineup, they need him to produce. Batting down in the lineup in that ballpark, in that state, I think it'd be extremely dangerous. So one of the reasons I want to see the Dodgers make a move for him is to keep him away from the team I think they're going to face in the NLCS in the Phillies. But what is your read on Randy Arozarena and where he ends up? And do the Rays even trade him?
Well, I'm glad you threw that in there at the end, because that's the problem.
Yeah.
The Tampa Bay Rays have started winning baseball games. They have of their last 10 series played, they've won 8 of them. They were swept by the Texas Rangers 2 weekends ago, and then you got to go about a month and a half. They dropped a series to Atlanta, down in Atlanta. They have been winning a lot lately, and they have gotten, now they haven't been sweeping teams. It's been taking 2 out of 3, just methodically, doing what Tampa Bay does. They've just been taking 2 out of 3 from everybody they play, 8 out of their last 10. They've taken 2 out of 3. And they're back to 48 and 48. Now, 48 and 48 in the American League doesn't mean the same thing it means in the National League. But if they keep it up, they keep winning 2 out of 3 as the next couple of weeks roll by, this Tampa Bay team may say, we don't have to trade Randy. His value, similar to Bo Bichette's value, maybe being down because he hasn't played as well as you expect. Randy hasn't played as well as we expect. So Tampa Bay may say, this isn't the right time to trade Randy Arozarena. Let's keep him. Let's try to grab a wild card spot. And if Randy catches fire, then we can trade him in the offseason. So, because that's one of the arguments, right, is that Randy's going to start to get too expensive. And next year is going to be, I believe, his second year of arbitration, and the money's going to go way up. And Tampa Bay may say, wow, we don't want to do that. Well, they could go through this season and still don't have to do that just by trading him in December. So I think Philly is one of those interesting teams, though. More of what I've been reading and seeing lately is that they may just sort of go the depth role, grab a 4th outfielder, grab an extra bench piece, grab a relief pitcher, not necessarily the major splash route. Unless there's anything new that I have that's come out that I haven't seen, in the last like 12 hours or 24 hours. So that I don't know if Philly would do it. I love the idea of him being on the Dodgers just because of, even if he struggled during the regular season, you want Randy Arozarena for the postseason. And that's all the Dodgers care about, is getting in the postseason. Do we have a guy that is clutch in October? And Randy is that. But Tampa, if anybody that wants Randy Arozarena traded, it needs to keep their fingers crossed for a losing streak here, because they've been winning a lot and they have very quietly crawled back into a wild card conversation.
Yeah, then following that series against the Yankees before the break, they're now 5.5 games back in the wild card. They're a team that has a good couple of weeks of ball, and they can be right back in that wild card mix. Eddie Buzz in the comments says Tampa Bay is the Dodgers quadruple A team. So I think there is that in the fact that you have deals consummated with those two franchises. You have the links with Andrew Friedman in that organization. I think what makes Arozarena interesting for the Rays is just a simple fact that, yeah, as you mentioned, once they have to start paying guys, that's when you trade him. And also, if he was having a down year the entire year, I would say, you know what, maybe you keep him. But the truth of the matter is, since the beginning of June, he's really gotten it together. Since the beginning of June, he's been one of the better hitters, a top 40 hitter in baseball. So I think they have some trade value up on him. There is a demand for corner outfielders. Makes sense for the Dodgers. It's almost a situation where you kind of wish they had a player where you could absorb a bad contract to get two pieces like a Pete Fairbanks, an Arozarena. Like, if they wanted to call the Tigers and say, we'll take on that bad Javi Baez contract if we're able to get Skubal and not have to attach so many top prospects, that's something that the Dodgers can do that not many organizations around Major League Baseball can. So unfortunately, they're not afforded that with the Tampa Bay Rays. But yeah, last question here.
Yeah.
Do you expect this to be an extremely active deadline, or are you a little worried? Because me personally, I'm a little worried with the lack of sellers and the fact you have the expanded postseason. And just a couple weeks ago, we thought the Rangers and the Diamondbacks and teams like the Blue Jays were going to trade all their pieces. And then it just takes 1 or 2 good weeks and back to maybe just a handful of obvious sellers like the White Sox and teams like that. But do you think we're still going to have an active deadline with a lot of impact moves?
I have a feeling that we have a very active deadline, but in terms of the big headline blockbusters, maybe there's only 1 or 2 of those. And in years past, we've been spoiled, by 3, 4, 5, 6 blockbusters, if you will, big name and lights guys on the move. And maybe we only see 1 or 2 of those because the Garrett Crochets, the Tariq Skubals. White Sox and the Tigers don't have to trade him. If they don't get the offer, Luis Robert, if they don't get the offer, they don't have to trade him. So not only do you have a shallow market of sellers, you also have a lot of these players that we're talking about with years of control beyond 2024. And those teams, therefore, don't have to sell if they don't like the offer. They can just wait and hold on to that player. So that will certainly add to the mix, but I still think it's going to be very active. I think we will see a ton of players go. I think we will see a lot of improvements, because what we do have is we have a Dodgers team and a Yankees team that are both in World Series or bust mode. This is maybe the only year that Juan Soto is a New York Yankee. And on the Dodgers side of things, they invested so much in this team. You bring in Ohtani, you make all those moves. The goal, the expectations to win the World Series. You have a Philadelphia Phillies team that is playing better baseball than we have seen them play in quite some time through the regular season. We've seen them make some runs in the postseason, but for a regular season Philadelphia Phillies team, this is the best Phillies team we've seen in a long time. So those teams don't want this season to end up falling short. So they will probably be very aggressive. So I think we'll see a few big names, not as many as we would like, but I still think we will see a ton of deals. Certainly enough for guys like you and me to sink our teeth into and certainly eat well this deadline season, because I think there's going to be a ton of trades, a lot to talk about. And even if it's not the big names, the big players, it's the big teams that are going to be making trades, and that will juice up the fan bases, and that I think will move the needle this deadline.
Yeah, I think you just nailed it right there, is that it's the teams that have needs, that have pressure to win. Now, you mentioned the Phillies with John Middleton pouring all that money to that franchise, where that roster is right now. They have to win a World Series. The Yankees, they haven't won since 2009. Juan Soto's probably only going to be in pinstripes this season. You have to win in New York. The Dodgers committed over $1.2 billion, haven't had a parade since 1988. And then the Orioles, who are young, they have all the prospects to get anyone they want. So when you got that much talent and those type of markets and franchises in World Series winning mode, and it's not a buyer's market. Well, it really is a tough situation, and guys are going to have to overpay, and that's what it's going to take. You're going to have to pay above sticker if you want to get some of these impact players, but I think it's ultimately going to determine who's going to win the World Series, because if Crochet doesn't go to the Dodgers and he gets dealt to the Orioles or another team, you could face him. If it's Skubal, he goes to the Orioles, you could be facing him. If the Yankees get an impact player, all these teams are going to be matched up at some point right towards the end. So it is going to be exciting, but I know I said the last question, but let me steal one more out of you. Real quick, super quick. You mentioned Soto. What does your gut tell you right now? Where do you think he ends up? Could be super short, Mets, Phillies, another team. He said he'd love to play with Shohei.
Yeah, I know. It's funny, all the Juan Soto stuff that ends up coming out. I think as the season got started, it came out that David Ortiz was his favorite player as a kid, and he loves the Red Sox. So like everybody's got there's something for everyone when it comes to Juan Soto and rumors. I would think that the Yankees have the advantage, because I think he really likes playing with Aaron Judge. Now, I'm sure he would love playing with Shohei Ohtani, but I would give the Yankees that extra percentage chance over a team like the Dodgers, over a team like the Mets, over a team like the Red Sox or the Phillies or any of those teams, just because he's there right now. He's playing with Aaron Judge. He's experiencing what that feels like. I think he loves it. This Juan Soto looks happy. Juan Soto looks like he's having fun. He really didn't. It just didn't feel the same in San Diego as it does right now in pinstripes. So that gives them a little bit of an advantage. So my gut would say leaning towards Yankees.
Some players look like they were born to be New York Yankees. Juan Soto certainly looks like one of those players. But Jim, go get some rest. Go sleep for the next 72 hours, because it's Jim Riley season coming up on YouTube. The trade deadline is just a couple of weeks away. Exciting times in the baseball world. Thank you so much for joining us here on The Dugout. You can, of course, follow Jim Riley on X and Instagram. Also, I'll drop a link to his show, Ball Cab Sports. One of the best to do it on YouTube. Thank you, Jim, so much for joining us here on The Dugout.
Thank you, Doug. It was a pleasure.
I appreciate it, my man. But there he goes, Jim Riley. Yeah, man, Jim, he's awesome, man. This guy lives and breathes Major League Baseball and trade talk and everything involving Major League Baseball. So definitely go check his show out. He's actually a Blue Jays fan. So, hey, for a Blue Jays fan right now, it can't be a great season because, I mean, the Blue Jays basically are kind of what the Cubs were in 2016. You kind of felt like they were going to be that team that was going to win multiple World Series or contend for World Series. And then I think that they're really a cautionary tale of when I'm moving. It's like, check me out. I'm flowing. I love it. I love it. A cautionary tale of just when a team, you have those pieces, you definitely have to strike when the iron's hot. You have to go all in. You have to know when to go all in. And I think in years past, this Dodgers team, they've been a little reluctant. They haven't made that move that says, you know what, those are the final pieces of the puzzle. Those are the moves that can really take us over the top. And I think if you're this Dodgers organization and you kind of get the perspective of how they're viewed, yes, they do have the top prospects along with other teams, but not as top heavy as far as the Orioles go. The Orioles, they're going to the table and they have the top shelf stuff. The Dodgers have the depth and they have a surplus in pitching, but I think it's going to come down to how aggressive Whack'em Sticks, man. He's putting us through college today. This is 200 on the day. Whack'em Sticks is a first ballot Dodgers Nation YouTube Hall of Famer. He says, happy first dugout episode. Keep up the amazing work, Doug. You're the best follow in the world of baseball right now. Whack'em Sticks, you're going to make me cry like Freddie Freeman in Atlanta, my man. I'm going to give you a let's go Dodgers because you are amazing here. Like I said, first ballot. You're basically the Stephen Cohen of this channel. Always just breaking bread and dropping us $100. So appreciate you for that, my man. We got some other super chats. Z Corp Alpha, Chicago White Sox relief pitcher Garrett Crochet would be an asset for $4.99. That's what makes him so intriguing and so enticing is, yes, you can tell me that this is the most innings that he's thrown this season, but this is someone who has a lot of mileage hopefully left because they used him in a precautionary way the last couple of years, because the fact he's only made 12 minor league starts, because the most innings he had pitched in a season before this year was 62, and that was for the Tennessee Volunteers. So I think, man, Crochet, Scooble, like I said, if Scooble gets thrown in the mix, that's going to change everything. That is going to change everything for this team. We got Z Corpa Alpha. For the Dodgers, they would likely need to part ways with multiple highly regarded assets, including players such as Bobby Miller, Gavin Stone, Dalton Rushing, Josue DePaula, and River Ryan. I don't think it would require a package that high, but it all depends on, if you're the White Sox, do you really want big league ready talent? And yes, Miller and Stone are still under team control for multiple years, but they're down to the studs. Okay, they're rebuilding that thing. You're seeing a demolition ball just take down that whole organization, especially when you trade someone like Crochet. And the truth of the matter is if you don't extend Garrett Crochet, you have to trade him because his value will never be as high as it is right now, especially in a market that is looking for elite starting pitchers. Don't kid yourself. Nathan Eovaldi, Jack Flaherty, Yusei Kikuchi, all those guys are nice. They are not the frontline guys that Scooble and Crochet are. And I think that is what moves the needle if you're the Dodgers or the Orioles or a team out there that wants starting pitching. And the thing about the Orioles is this, they're not getting those guys back, okay? They made their big swing in the offseason for Corbin Burns, and he's starting in tonight's All-Star game. Clearly, that has worked out, but what the Orioles need to do is they need to determine if they feel like they can win it this year, and I think they do. You got Gunnar Henderson. You have tons of talent that could win this season. The Dodgers, though, it's more of a situation where we don't want to put anything at risk. We want to put ourselves in the best position to have success, even if those guys that come back aren't healthy, aren't effective. Like I said earlier, I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it, okay? Give me the surplus if you are the Dodgers. But we got Kenny Chung who says, Crochet knows what he's worth. He's not going to give any thoughts to the Chi Sox extension. Pepio similar to Glasnow this season, Mr. Classic. I wouldn't go that far. I think Pepio definitely has had some ups and downs this season. But when you look at the advanced stuff, the advanced metrics, they definitely favor Tyler Glasnow. Just Glasnow, I think he's just a little taxed at the moment. You've seen his ERA go up every single month since the start of the season. But when it comes to wipeout, swing and miss stuff, there's no comparison between Ryan Pepiot and Tyler Glasnow. One of the big X factors for the Dodgers is Glasnow in game 1 of the season, of the postseason. And if he's going to be that horse for them that can just dominate throughout. But we got the All-Star game tonight. We got the All-Star game down in Texas. The National League versus American League. I picked Teoscar to win the home run derby. And thankfully, you don't have one of the worst decisions ever, which was to determine home field advantage by the winner of the All-Star game. That was a disaster. But National League, Paul Skeens, it's going to be electric. Paul Skeens is the closest thing that Major League Baseball has to Caitlin Clark. And that is what disappointed me when he didn't go deep into that game and at least go batter for batter, pitch for pitch to try to pitch a no-hitter, because that's what takes something from, okay, it's clipped up on Twitter, it's clipped up on YouTube, it's shown, it's gone viral, versus a phenomenon. That's what starts a Skeens mania, right? But Skeens just winning on the field, off the field, winning at life, and he's going to be the starting pitcher for the National League. I'm going with the NL. How about you guys? My man Tony Taters. We got the producer Cam rocking with us. There we go. By the way, it's Tony Taters. If you're new to the show, by the way, we're looking for Yankees fans, Red Sox fans, all fans of baseball, just like to talk ball 24/7. That is what this show is about. We will be going heavy on the Dodgers stuff as we always do, but this one we're trying to give you that outsider perspective. A lot of these shows stuck in the Dodgers bubble. We're going to take you out of that Dodgers bubble and kind of show you the entire league, the entire show. But Tony Taters, what are you looking for in the All-Star game?
I just hope the National League wins it. I know it doesn't mean anything, but I just hate always seeing the American League. They've just been dominant for years and years, decades even. I don't know, but I want to see Ohtani and Teoscar have a great game today. I want to see Paul Skeens strike out the side in the first, so that'd be chill. But National League all the way.
How about your MVP?
I'm going to go with someone random. Elias Diaz.
Yes.
But no, I'll go with Teoscar. F it, won the Derby.
Wow.
MVP, but that stock up, why not? Not random, but
I like it.
Let's go Teoscar.
How about you, Noah? What are we going with?
Let me bring this over here. Well, I have the AL winning. I know one last year snapped that 9 straight for the AL.
Snapped the 9 straight.
So that was nice. They won 3-2 thanks to the Elias Diaz heroics. I think the AL gets back on track. I think their lineup is just much better. Obviously, Paul Skeens is going to have a great game. Unlike you, I don't hope Paul Skeens goes 1-2-3 because I think we all want to see Paul Skeens, Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge is the 4-hole hitter for the AL. So I think we all want to see at least one guy get on. Soto even promised. He's like, I promise I'm going to get on. So Aaron Judge gets a chance to face Skeens. Now, again, I still have AL winning. I just think that lineup is so good. And MVP, I'm going to go with Aaron Judge. I think he's going to homer. All right, call me crazy. I think he homers. I think he gets MVP. I think AL gets back on track.
I like that pick. That's a fire take. How about you, Mr. Young Lotto, Noise by Noel, the Paul Skeens of Dodgers Nation?
See the mix of like the future of the MLB and also just the current stars. I think there's a really good mix. It was a really good time watching them actually select the entire roster. I was telling I had a good time watching that whole show. And my MVP pick is actually going to be Juan Soto. Dang. I think he's going to go crazy. He's going to go deep a couple of times and just put on a show for everyone. And I have the NL winning.
Yeah, the NL. You have the NL winning. I like it. It's Globe Life Field. That's actually, where the Dodgers win championships.
Can't have one winning the MVP. I'll go with the
it could be good, maybe a little Jerry West action.
Houston being on the punch.
2 home runs.
But yeah,
I mean he would have to have a crazy game, but I got the AL winning, so that way Juan Soto could win the MVP.
I like it. I'm going with Shohei though. It's Shohei's stage. It's not a homer pick. It's did he not take Skeens deep in Pittsburgh? I think I'm calling right now. Ohtani takes Skeens deep.
How's that going to work?
I mean, what?
No.
I mean, no. I mean, not TT.
That was worse than me.
Yeah, I know.
You did it for me. It's all right.
No, I think Shohei Ohtani. I think he wins the MVP. I think the National League wins 7-5, and I think that you look at the game. The one thing that I'm reminded of is the uniforms. Please bring back when the players wore their own uniforms, because I think that looks like it's basically an unlicensed video game uniform. You know what I mean? Like when you get unlicensed video games, I think it looks like back in the day, it used to be they would wear that uniform for the home run derby, and then they would wear their own uniforms for the regular game. It's just I can't deal with it, man.
Well,
I mean,
you see that Rob Manfred said that they were going to discuss bringing it back for next year.
they said they were going to discuss it, and here's the truth of the matter is. Also, there was another piece that was put out that showed that the uniforms actually outsold the new uniforms when it was just the team's uniform with a patch on it.
Yep.
So teams will sell the uniforms with a patch on it, and those will still sell.
I mean, I can only imagine a Juan Soto Yankees All-Star Game uniform in what potentially his only year in New York. I mean, that would sell like crazy. I mean, that would absolutely sell like crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because, I mean, look, players, it's the iconic image of the game. It's basically, for these one, it's like, shut up, don't take my money. Okay? At $4.50 a pop. I mean, I just don't get it. But you look at the lineup so far, you got Marte leading off, Ohtani in the 2-hole, Trey Turner batting third, Bryce Harper batting cleanup. You got Contreras behind the dish, Yelich, Bohm, Teoscar, and Profar. And then the AL, Quan, Henderson, Soto, Judge. You like that Soto and Judge back-to-back. Alvarez, Dodgers legend, J-Ram, Jose Ramirez, Vladdy, Rutschman, and Simeon at second base. So, look, the truth of the matter is the MLB All-Star Game, it easily clears the NBA All-Star Game. I think the big debate, though, is what do you guys think carries more weight? Teoscar Hernandez home run derby or the Lakers in-season championship?
Come on, man.
The Lakers in-season. I think it's easily the home run derby versus the Lakers in-season tournament championship.
Come on, man.
I mean, seriously, what's your take on that?
That's insane.
What you really think the home run derby is? Look,
Here's what I will say. I love how excited Teoscar was. Like, it clearly meant so much to him. You know, I mean, he had his friends around him. Vladimir Guerrero was around him repping the Blue Jays Teoscar jersey. It clearly meant so much to him. You could tell how nervous he was when Bobby Witt was at 13, and like that, like you could see how nervous he was. So I do really appreciate how much it meant to him. He's wanted to do it his whole career. But come on, man, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's the Lakers, I think, with it being the inaugural one, that's what held a lot of weight to it. It was the first time nobody expected it to work out as well as it did, and then the energy was just top 10.
Just be if anyone that wasn't the Lakers won, it would have meant a lot to a lot of people. Just the fact
it was a meaningless title. It was an embarrassment.
It was the Lakers.
They should throw in the trash.
Makes people not like it. If the Pacers won,
I forgot they had won that tournament by March, and the fact is,
it's an all basketball show now.
No, but I'm just saying that the home run derby means something. I mean,
no, it means a lot to
Did you see the picture of Anthony Davis and LeBron James at the podium after they won that? They looked like they didn't want to be there. Teoscar Hernandez, that was a big
champagne bottles.
Go look at the picture of them.
They were popping champagne bottles.
Come on now. No, there's no doubt about it. The home run derby. Well, I think the home run derby, the only thing that can come close to the home run derby is a 3-point shooting contest. The dunk contest, is terrible. But
old dunk contest. Old dunk contest was amazing.
Old dunk contest. Yeah. All right. So do you think MLB has the best All-Star, I'll say week in general compared to other?
Well, I mean, the Pro Bowl is flag football. I mean, that's not even a thing.
The All-Star game's fun.
The All-Star game, the NBA All-Star game, the style of play. I mean, they tried to change the rules a couple years ago. I think it's pretty much unwatchable because the thing about the NBA All-Star game is guys aren't going full speed. Today, you'll see the velocity. Skeens, the adrenaline's up.
He's going to try.
These guys don't want to be embarrassed. These guys are going to want to leave the yard and play their best. And I think the NBA All-Star game easily 100% is the best All-Star weekend. I think NBA's, they've tried to figure it out for years, but I think you look at the home run derby, it's iconic. I mean, it's special. I think some people didn't like it yesterday, but
well, some of the new rules, I just think, I mean, there were less home runs or fewer home runs last year than I felt like there ever have been. Like that, just like it's a home run derby. Don't you want to see?
It shouldn't be about the pitcher. Yeah, I mean, look, I think at the end of the day, it's about the theater at the end. I mean, you look at basically it came down to Witt, and it hits the wall, and they don't win. And then you see the look on Teoscar Hernandez's face. I mean, it felt like he won a championship. So yeah, that definitely was worthwhile.
No, it was awesome.
Yeah,
I will say the game itself, I think MLB All-Star Game by far is the best because it's actually competitive.
Roy Estrada says the first banner belongs at the practice facility. Yeah, if it meant something, they still replaced their head coach. Okay, I mean the in-season tournament.
Mitchell Hopkins said, "Would you rather have Bronny James take the last second three down in Game 7 of the World Series, or listen to the national anthem on repeat for 8 hours from yesterday?"
Wow.
Wait, first of all, did you see what she said after?
After
she released a statement today.
Yeah,
she said she was drunk.
I know. I know. I felt bad. I basically had like 15 roast against her, and then I found out. Then I kind of felt guilty about it.
What would you rather choose from that?
I mean, That's a tough one. That's a tough one because Bronny James is, what is the 3-point shooting? Like over 17? Over 15?
Soon to
And
be over 17.
I mean, she's an actual legitimate Grammy singer, whereas according to Jaylen Brown, Bronny James isn't even an NBA player.
Hey, he said he has all the tools.
Yeah, that's because the black SUVs rolled up. Okay, and he got the threat. So yeah, that's a tough one. We got Bronny should play baseball from Mr. Classic. I sing better when I'm drunk. That's from James Brizuela from Dodgers Nation affiliated Newsweek. Good times. Good times.
Really quickly, going back to the lineups, did you see the whole thing that happened with Luis Arraez?
I not.
Okay, so this is crazy to me. So he was voted an all-star starter, which obviously is not in the starting lineup. So he gets replaced by Ketel Marte in the starting lineup because he has an injured thumb, but he's not taken off the roster because they said he could still come in as a defensive replacement and field, but he's not going to hit, but he might field. Now, as we know, Arraez is one of the worst defenders in baseball. The only reason a fan would want to see him is because he's one of the best hitters in baseball. So now he's not going to hit in the All-Star game, but he wasn't replaced on the roster because he might come in as a defensive replacement. Is that like one of the weirdest things you've ever heard?
That is pretty weird. That's strange. I think it's kind of just about wanting to be there and wanting to take advantage of the moment. You never know how many of these opportunities that you're going to get. But yeah, that's definitely not what people sign up for, to see Luis Arraez.
He might come in and place him.
Yeah, they want to see him hit, not place him second base there. But it's going to be a great night. All the stars are there. I mean, I say for Mookie Betts, but the star is going to be there down in Texas. Shohei Ohtani, I'm telling you, he's going yard, winning the MVP. We got our MVP mixes. Let us know down below. Who do you guys have winning tonight? Who's your MVP? And also subscribe to the channel. If you're new to the channel, we're going to be covering all things Major League Baseball. Every single team, every single player, every single trade rumor here on the Dugout. And it'll be following Dodgers Dugout here on the Dodgers Nation YouTube channel. Got a good vibrations, $1.99 super chat. Would you trade for Skubal if you had to take Baez? I mean, look, you look at Baez, he was owed $93 million heading into this season. It's a contract where he's negative as far as the overall net, but if it takes Baez, who actually is -3 outs above average defensively, and his bat, I mean, he is extremely erratic swinger that doesn't fit kind of the Dodgers profile as far as strike zone awareness goes. But if you're able to keep prospects, this is a team that can absorb contracts like that. We saw David Price to get Mookie Betts. We've seen this team be able to take on money. You saw the Adrian Gonzalez deal even before that. So I would not be shocked to see that, and definitely I would consider it. For Skubal, yes, there's not a lot of players that I would consider it for, but for Tariq Skubal, yes, I would take on Javi Baez's bad contract, even if he doesn't even play shortstop, to get Tariq Skubal to keep the top prospects in your organization. That's the only way you're going to be able to sustain winning with the Dodgers. But that is going to do it for this episode of The Dugout. My name is Doug McKain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. Hit that like button. And until next time, see you later, baseball fans.